welcome to another video. It's that time of the year again. It's Advent of Code and we're gonna have so much fun. I'm gonna try to get all the way to 25, but we'll see how many days I will actually handle. And usually when we have this kind of intro, I have some sponsor shots here. But this year, the sponsors that were reaching out was mostly AI companies that didn't really meet the actual seal of approval for me. They weren't really having a product that they could go to market with yet. So this year, as the creator economy is a little bit strange, I would much rather think that you should give some of your appreciation to an other creator. So I will put my donation link in the description, and I don't really care if you give me money. You can if you want, but I want you to pick out some creator that you watch regularly, that you really like what they do, and then give them a small donation saying, hey, I really appreciate what you do. So that is my call out for this year. Let's get into some Advent of Code. Day 5 of 12, Cafeteria. As the forklifts break through the wall, the elves are delighted to discover that there was a cafeteria on the other side all along. You can hear the commotion coming from the kitchen. At this rate, we won't have any time left to put the wreaths up in the dining hall. Resolute your quest, you investigate. In your quest. If you only hadn't switched to the new inventory management system right before Christmas, another elf explains. You ask what's going on. The elves in the kitchen explain the situation. Because their complicated new inventory system, they can't figure out which of their ingredients are fresh and which are spoiled. And you ask how it works, and they give you a copy of their database. Your input. The database operates on ingredient IDs. It consists of a list of fresh ingredient ID ranges and a blank line and a list of available ingredient IDs, for example. The fresh IDs are inclusive. The range 3 to 5 means that ingredient ID 3, 4, 5 are fresh. The ranges that also overlap an ingredient ID is fresh if it's in any range. The elves are trying to determine which of the available ingredients are fresh. In this example, this is done follows. Ingredient 1 is spoiled because it doesn't fall into any range. Ingredient 5 is fresh because it falls into range 3, 5. Ingredient 8 is spoiled. Ingredient 11 is fresh because it falls into range 10, 14. Ingredient 17 is fresh because it falls into range 16 to 20, as well as range 12, 18. Ingredient 32 is spoiled. In this example, 3 of the available ingredients IDs are fresh. Process the database file in the new inventory system. How many of the available ingredients are fresh? So we need something that could keep track of these ranges. And then we need to check these values. So we could do a class. So let's create a class here. Fresh range, and it has an int start, and it's final, private, and we do the same for end, and then we want to create see, we want to generate constructor start end, but we much more likely would do string range and range, so we can give ourselves a little bit more space here. Let's remove these. So the range will be split with a dash, so we'll get 2 strings like that, and then array the 0th value. We will do an let's say that these are long, because we don't really know how large these numbers will become. So let's prepare for a little bit longer ones, parse long, like that. And we do the same for the end value. And then we can do a public boolean in range with a long val. Let's see here. If val is larger than end, return false. If val is smaller than start, return false, else return true. So now we have a fresh range where you just put in these values, and then we have something that could check if a value is in range. So here we will have a list of fresh range, list of ranges, new, array list, and then we want to for string in line, and we go through lines. If line contains a dash, we will take ranges and add new fresh range of this line. Else we want to check, and if we get a line that is blank, we just continue. Fresh. And we want to print the fresh here. So for a fresh range, fr in ranges, and yes, we want to take a string here also. So long val is equals to long parse long s val. So we don't really need to do that conversion either. So here we take fresh in range line, and if that is true, we will count fresh plus plus, and then we will continue outer. So we want to continue on this outer loop up here. So this is then day 5, and it's the test value. So that gives us 3, and if we do the full example, we end up with 638. Let's see if that's correct. Yes, you get a gold star. I get a gold star. Everybody gets a gold star. So that was day 5, part A. Let's see part 2. The elves start bringing their spoiled inventory into the trash chute at the back of the kitchen so that they can stop bugging you when they get new inventory. The elves would like to know all of the IDs that are fresh ingredient ID ranges considered to be fresh. An ingredient ID is still considered fresh if it's in any range. Now the second section of the database, the available IDs, is irrelevant. There are fresh ID ranges from above example. The ingredient IDs that are ranges considered to be fresh are 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, up to 20. So there is 14 IDs that are fresh. To process the database file again, how many ingredient IDs are considered to be fresh according to the fresh ingredient ID ranges? And they are counting 3 and 5 as well. Okay, so this requires a little bit of a different setup here than what we did with the fresh check, because we could have a difference there. So what we want to do now is having an overlap function and changing the values, pretty much. So let's copy this 5b like that, and we want to check public void or boolean overlap string range, and first we want to cut this up, of course. So we do a long new start, long new end. And we can have an internal in range here for the long val. Like that. So here we pretty much want to check if in range new start or in range new end. We do something and return true, else return false. If new start is smaller than start, then start equals to new start. If new end is larger than end, end is equal to new end. why? We said that those were final. Yeah, they can't be final anymore. Womp womp. So now we will check if two ranges overlap. And then we also need a function, a two-string function that pretty much takes start plus equals to dash plus end. So we just get that range again, and they also need an public long get size. So this will take will return end minus start, and then we want to be inclusive. So do we need +1 perhaps? If we have 3 and 5, and between 3 and 5 there are 3 values, 3, 4 and 5, and 5 minus 3 is just 2, so we need 1 extra there. So there we go. And in this B example, we will just skip over that case. And if for fresh range in ranges, and if we have an overlap of this line, then we will continue with outer like that. Or else we will add it to the range. And then down here we will do a while change. Boolean change equals to true. Lines. We would do a new list of lines here. Or should we do like this? Just, and then we do lines equals to new array list lines. Change equals to true. Okay, so up here we do change equals to false. Here we do change equals to true. And then here we just do fresh range, ranges, lines, add new line. FR to string. If change, we'll do that, and ranges will be a new array list. So let's see if we run that. Do we get down there at all? No, we did not run the right one. We got down there. Let's see if we, and we got 2 ranges. So down here we should be able to do fresh range FR ranges, and then we will have fresh IDs 0 FR get size fresh IDs plus equals to that, and then we do fresh IDs down here, and we can skip this one. So if we run that now, we got 14, which is the right value. So let's try the full one. And we got a huge value. So that was not correct. So here we do a big int 0, fresh IDs equal to fresh IDs add big integer value of long value, like that, and then we will get what? This huge value. So let's see if that is correct. It at least is large. No, the answer is not correct. If you're stuck using the full data, yes, I'm using the full data. After some thinking and rejiggering some stuff, I got a value. Let's see if that is the correct value. And let's see. Yes, you got a gold star. I got a gold star. Everybody gets a gold star. So what I did now is that I needed to test everything against everything else, pretty much. So what I did, the first part here, is that we went through and just added all these fresh ranges. So we have a fresh range, and we just throw in everything in there. And then down here, as we had before, we count up the actual size of the ranges. So that hasn't changed. What we did change is in the middle here. Here we have first a while loop that we see, have we changed anything? And first off we say, okay, before we start, we haven't changed anything. Then we have an iterator here. An iterator is a way of having an array where you iterate over something, but you can also remove values. So that's why I'm having an iterator here. So while we have something next in our iterator, we will continue. And then I will take the first value in the range, and then, or the next value in the range, and then see if I can find that range in any other range. And we also accept that we find it multiple times, just not one time. So if we find them at all in these ranges, we go through all the ranges and we see if those overlap, and we will set change to true and found to true. And if we have found it, we will also remove it from the next iteration, so we will not try that one again. And then we take the next one and the next one and the next one, and if we have changed anything, we do it all over again and see if we can remove even more. So the overlap function has changed a bit as well because we are sending in a fresh range at the moment. This fresh range has got an ID, and the ID is up here. We first have a final ID that we set on this this constructor up here, and we have this static int count, which just counts up the IDs. We get unique values for each of the ranges. Doesn't really matter what that value is, just that it is unique. And then down here we check, is this the exact same range? No? Then we can continue. And then we check if the start value is in range or the end value is in range. And then we update the values of the current range to be either start more earlier or end later. And then we return true because we have updated that range, else we return false. And we also have this kind of function here to get the size. So this was day 5. I hope that you found this interesting. I hope that you learned something today. If you like this video, give it a like, share it with your friends and colleagues. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And I really hope to see you in the next one.